Price of Bitcoin in US dollars reached a new all-time high of 111,000 just yesterday or today. And it's kind of sad for the people who sold at 70 or 80,000 just a month ago or so, because a lot of that selling was driven by retail investors, ordinary people who probably bought way too much for the first time in January or February, and then price tanked 20-30%. They freaked out, couldn't handle the volatility, and they sold near the local bottom. And it must be really hard to then see the price rebound to new record highs within weeks or months of you having sold at a loss. But that's why the thing I always tell people, this is not financial advice, just my observations on things, but the best way to approach Bitcoin might be treat it like a savings account or a piggy bank, and just regularly put away whatever spare change you can. Set a dollar cost average system if you can on an exchange like River or Swan Bitcoin. I know Swan Bitcoin actually makes it easy to set up recurring buys, and even it reminds you to send the coins to your own self-custody wallet. And just doing that over time and not touching it, not selling it or using it for anything, over time, it will grow. And as long as you don't do that with more cash than you need on hand right now for the next, day, week, 6 months, then you'll be fine. You won't have to worry about it. It's largely psychological, emotional thing. It's not really about being the smartest person or understanding everything about how the technology works or anything like that. It's more just about knowing your own risk tolerance and acting accordingly, not taking risks that you can't afford, that you can't cope with. Not just that you can't afford, but that you won't be able to cope with, because you can take a risk that makes sense financially. Maybe it's not going to destroy you, but that could still be too much if it's enough that makes you feel like you have to sell when the price tanks, basically. So that's about knowing yourself. And the thing that sucks is, to really learn that, you may just have to go through it a few times. So if this is someone's first cycle, I can't imagine what it would be like to witness these rapid swings when it feels more significant because the number is bigger, even though, many years ago when Bitcoin was, say, $300, it would fall 30% overnight, because it might go from 300 to 200, from 500 to 300, and so on. So in terms of percentages, the volatility was much greater way back then. And even though volatility's been going down overall over time, it doesn't really feel that way, possibly because of just the bigger numbers that you're seeing. So yeah, the bottom line is everything's going to zero against Bitcoin. The fiat currencies are going to zero against everything. That's why asset prices always keep going up. So it's hard. I know it's hard out there right now, but my recommendation to anyone who's listening, would be to get whatever hard assets you can, however you can. I know something like half of Americans wouldn't even be able to come up with $400 for an emergency situation. So for them, maybe that's not possible. But the nice thing about Bitcoin is you can take, I think it's as little as $5, say a week or a month, whatever the minimum buy is on an exchange like Kraken, Coinbase, Swan, River. So you can do that minimum amount on a regular basis, and over time it will appreciate, as long as you have a time span of at least 4 years, if not 10, if not 20 or more. And It's not going to make you rich overnight, but it is a better alternative than just holding cash or holding many other investments that match pace with inflation at best, or maybe just barely outperform it. On the other hand, if you can't handle that volatility and you have more savings to work with, then maybe you want something less volatile, like an S&P index fund or gold or what have you. And by the way, going back to the it's not going to get rich quick part, altcoins are not going to make you rich quick either. I have a friend who's all in on certain altcoin I don't even want to name because it's such garbage. And he's actually admitted that he's just trying to get rich quick, and that's his goal basically, and that's why he's doing this, when already, even now, if he had just bought Bitcoin back, I don't know, 6 months ago when he told me about this, he'd be doing much better than if he was in this altcoin. And so that, I think that's the last thought I would like to end with, is it's all just looking at these numbers on the surface doesn't really paint a clear picture of the risk reward profile of any of these things, because just like it feels worse when a bigger number of the value of one Bitcoin goes up and down, the volatility is actually reduced than what it was in years past. And at the same time, people think when they see a small number of an altcoin go from 2 cents to $2 and then crash 90%, or go to from 50 cents to several dollars or something like that, they think, oh, this is my chance. This is how I'm going to get rich quick. In reality, 99.9% of people never get that. I know on the Trump coin, there was an article on Cointelegraph recently, that meme coin, that like a couple hundred wallets had been in profit and made like $1 million or more, whereas the other millions and millions of wallets were in the red. They were losers. And that's pretty much the case with all altcoins. I mean, meme coins being the worst examples, but over time, if you look at any chart of an altcoin against Bitcoin, so ETH/BTC, Solana/BTC, and so on, you can clearly see that they are going down in Bitcoin terms. And you can show this to people and they don't care. It doesn't compute. They still want to hold their altcoin because they think that in dollar terms they're going to catch some quick pump and it's going to make them rich. But that's not the reality. The better option is just to hold hard money for the long term as best you can. That's my opinion. Although, again, this is not financial advice. So I'm going to wrap things up here, and I just want to make a note that 98% of my viewers are not subscribed. So do me a favor, if you found value in this video, smash that subscribe button, give it a like. It's a free way to support the channel. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.